Yeah. Whatever. Test. That's fine. So we need. That's what we needed last time. Oh, here she is. Ready? Yeah. Good morning, Erica. Can you hear me? She's there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good evening. This is
Good
Miss
morning.
McIntyre. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Cool. We got a fancy setup over here. I know you can't see me because I'm way back here. I feel like I'm going film class now.
Yeah. Hi.
Hasn't it?
Yes. Great to see you.
You too. What time is it there?
It is 9:30 p.m.
Cool. Well, this is my Global Explorers Club. Do you want to tell them a little bit about what you do in China, first of all, and go from there? How long you've been there?
Sure. Yeah, so I teach English at a university here. I moved here in 2009, so about 14 years, minus 2 years of being in the States during the pandemic. So yeah, I teach oral English to university students, and it's not their first time to learn English. They've been studying since elementary school, but a lot of their English learning has mostly to do with preparing for a written test and not so much speaking. So they can speak, but they are not very confident about speaking.
So, guys, I think we can start up over to y'all. Y'all are half asleep. These kids, we don't even start school until 8:15. Is that 8 now?
Oh,
8:10. So they are here early for this. And I think they're half
wow.
asleep after the Thanksgiving break.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are.
I'm late for Christmas tree.
Okay, you gotta talk up so she can hear you. Research on China. What did you discover that you want to ask Miss, can they call you Miss Erica or would you prefer Miss McIntyre?
Sure, either one.
Okay. What kind of questions did y'all come up with? I know it's been a while. I know you had some. No? Wait a minute, they're digging for their passports.
Oh, okay.
This kid wants to know what is normally a dessert there.
Dessert. Well, a lot of people eat fruit. And so fruit is very common, like after a meal in a restaurant. The last thing they'll bring you is fruit. So like watermelon or grapes, something like that. There are more bakeries in China than there were in the past. So you can find a lot of bread and cake, not so much cookies, but the cakes, they're pretty much all the same flavor. They're not very sweet, and the icing is whipped cream. So even the cakes, if they're like 2 layers, inside will be fruit and cream, and it's more like a sponge cake. It's not sweet, but they think it's very sweet, but it's not by American standards.
What else do you guys have? I see what you're saying out. They're quickly going back to their passports. They did a little bit of research and took some notes.
Okay.
I have a question. I know you do. Speak up really loud.
How is the alphabet in China different than the US alphabet?
Did you hear?
Mm. Well, they write in characters. So The writing is not a Roman kind of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Theirs are more shapes and strokes that are divided into two parts. And I forget when, maybe the 50s or 60s, they decided to Romanize the sounds of Chinese into what is called pinyin. And in that way, if you were to write using the Romanization or the alphabet, the English alphabet, you would be able to say the sounds. But even when you say the sounds, Chinese is tonal. So each part of the word has a rising or falling sound. So you have to memorize the sound and the tone for each word.
That
I'm
sounds
not
like
sure if that helped.
Y'all understand what she means by tonal? They're like, yeah, no, wasn't, no.
No,
Can, tonal is, I think what you're saying is where your voice goes up or down. Is that correct?
Mhm. Right.
You know what?
Yeah. So,
Go ahead.
well, I could give you an example with counting. So, if you were to count in Chinese, those each have a different tone. So the first one is E, and that's very high. And then the second sound, two, is R, and that is a fourth tone, so you go down. So it's E, R. The second one, three, san, si. So each one of those has a high tone and then a sharp tone. E, R, san, si. So it's like that for all of the words. You have to know the tone. Yeah. If you don't, then you won't be understood.
You seem to know a lot about Chinese. Would you tell them how you know a lot about Chinese?
So I studied Chinese for 2 years. When I first moved to China, I could not speak Chinese. And then I went to a university here and studied full time, 5 days a week, Chinese lessons so that I could speak and read and write.
Are people surprised when you speak Chinese? Or have you had these situations where they don't think you understand them? Because that's not usual.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, Chinese is very difficult. Um, and so, yeah, when people see me, they just assume that I don't speak Chinese because of, obviously I'm not. And so a lot of times I can hear people talking about me, but they don't know that I can understand some of what they say, not everything, because even in China, there are many different dialects of Chinese. So when I studied Chinese, I studied the most standard Chinese. But in the city that I live in, there's also a local dialect that I do not understand. But they can understand me, but when they use the local dialect, I cannot understand all of what they're saying.
What about, okay, y'all have questions? You go ask your questions. I'm asking because I've talked to Ms. Erica about this stuff before.
what's the what's the most popular?
Most popular food.
I can tell you the most common food. So with every meal, people eat rice.
Is it white rice like we eat, or is it a different kind?
It's white rice, it's a short grain, and it's more glutinous. So it's not like super sticky, but it does stick more than a loose grain, long grain white rice. So usually I would say in the dining hall, students have about 2 cups of rice. along with vegetables. So there are fast food restaurants, absolutely. But people tend to eat more vegetables, and the main meat would be pork. Um, and the northern part of China, they eat more noodles. So you'll find more fresh homemade noodles in the north, and in the south they eat more rice, and that just has to do with the land, the farmland produces things differently. So
Okay, Alan. What's the biggest holiday there?
the biggest holiday is New Year, Chinese New Year. So the New Year is based on the lunar calendar, and it's different every year. So what happens is, okay. So for Spring Festival, this is like the biggest family reunion time. And so people will go back home. And I know that kind of sounds like normal for the States. Like, our families don't live all in Texas. Maybe you have cousins in California or New York, and you go visit them. But this is a little different because a lot of times here, people work in different cities from where their family is. So for my students, a lot of them did not grow up with their parents. They grew up with their grandparents, and their parents lived in a different city. And so a lot of people are like migrant workers, and they live or they work outside of their home province. And so during Spring Festival, this is the one time in the year when everyone can go home to be with their family. There's usually, like any gathering, a really big meal. Dumplings are part of this meal, especially for people in the north. And then there's also this time of the year where they do a lot of fireworks. Like in the neighborhood, everyone's shooting fireworks. It is very, very loud. And at one point, the government said that they could no longer do fireworks in cities. And so then people just went to the countryside, did fireworks. Some of the fireworks have to do with their beliefs. And so there are stories about like dragons having to do with bringing good luck or bad luck. Luck is a very common topic here. And so they do a lot of things to try and get rid of bad luck and bring in good luck. And so fireworks are part of scaring this story of a dragon away so that you can bring in good luck. So big family meal, a lot of fireworks, and there are times when people get like new clothes from their family members. Kids also get a red envelope with money in it, and they can use that, for whatever they want. So all the way through college, kids will get money from relatives as a gift.
What about schools? You've been in, I mean, you and I talked together.
Yeah.
How are Chinese schools different than what these kiddos experience?
The schools in China, there are a lot of people in China, a lot. And so they do a lot of testing to help put students in different schools. So you have to take a test to get into junior high school, a test to get into high school, and then there's a really, really hard test to get into university. Students go to school from like 7 o'clock to 10 p.m. at night. And so they basically live at the school. A lot of times it's like, what is that called? What is that called? When you live away, like a boarding school, that's what it is. So a lot of the schools are kind of like boarding schools where you live there. And yeah, there's a lot of exams even throughout those times and a lot of homework. So a lot of students here, most of them do not have extracurricular activities like band or sports or drama or newspaper. They don't have that. They just don't exist in the average public school. So they get more of that in university, but even university, they do not choose their major. And it's very difficult to change their major in university. Yeah, and so there are more extracurricular activities and more freedom, they would say, but they still have classes from like 8 to 8.
Okay, so if they don't choose their majors when they go to college, how do they end up with a major?
Well, each school, it depends on the test that they take when they get in university. So the test that they take in high school, they spend a year preparing for this test. And so that's the huge focus for students here, is to prepare for this exam to get into university. And it depends on their score. Their score will kind of funnel them into a university that is looking for a certain number of students in a particular major. And so if they get that score, they could choose this school that has this particular major or this school that has this major that they, in a sense, qualify for according to their test score.
Kids are in their, let's say, talk about junior high or high school or their equivalent. What is a class like there? I mean, we are so used to, you know, group work and this and that and smaller classes, and is it the same?
No. Middle schools, you can have, let's see, maybe even 60 students in a classroom. 30 would be pretty small. I don't even have, well, I do have 30 for some, but in the university, my larger class has 45. But some, you know, I mean, universities, you have more, but in middle school or high school, you have over 30 students in a class. And here, the students stay in the classroom, and the classroom is their own. They can kind of decorate it a little bit. And then the teachers rotate. So the students stay in one place and the teachers go in and out of the students' classrooms. And there's also a lot of structure because there are so many kids, right? Like you have to have order in a classroom. Teachers are highly respected. So it would be, not to say it doesn't happen because it absolutely does, but there's more, how do I say? Yeah, there's just more respect for teachers. So you won't hear her talking back to a teacher here. That would be extremely disrespectful. And the student would be very embarrassed if they did something like that. So students tend to want to keep peace amongst each other and with the teachers and leaders in their school.
60 kids in a class.
Mhm. Yeah.
Kids, a lot more kids in the class. Do they do group work here or do they do more lecture?
There is more lecture. Group work is, you can find it in some schools, and there are international schools that are more like the Western schools there in America or in Europe. But they they tend to be more lecture based, and that, also it has to do more with the cultural perspective on the role of a teacher and the role of a student. So the teacher is the one, that has the knowledge, that's caring for the students, that's making sure the students understand the information, of course, like any other teacher, but they're given that kind of platform in the classroom. So then students, they don't really ask questions in the classroom. They want to show their respect and not maybe ask a question that might reveal something that the teacher might not know. So they're mindful of that as well. So yeah, I mean, understanding the culture can help that make more sense. Yeah, and it doesn't seem as strange when you can understand it from that perspective. Yeah.
You have 45 to 60 kids in a classroom, you gotta have the structure and the respect. And
Yeah, absolutely.
Are there more classes or less classes?
What's that?
More classes or less?
Do students have more classes or less?
Yeah.
More.
No, that doesn't sound good to you? No,
No, I'm less.
you wanna ask anybody? Yeah, you stuck in there? No? Okay. Anybody else with questions? We have about 5 minutes. Yes, go ahead, roll out.
Is it true Chinese people aren't fond of physical touch?
Aren't fond of physical touch? I'd say it looks different. So, I went to see one of my former students who's working now, and in America, when you haven't seen someone for a long time, what do?
Okay. Have them.
You probably hug, right? A friend, huh? All right, not everybody. Okay, if you don't like touch, that's okay. But in America, generally, if you're friends with someone and you haven't seen them for a long time, give them a hug. But that's not the case here. So they don't necessarily hug, but what my student did do was she looped arms with me. So she put her arm around my arm and we walked around together, linking arms. And then sometimes girls and girls, not guys and guys, but girls and girls will hold hands. And so that's another form of physical touch, but it just doesn't look the same. So yes, they do, but they don't do the same things that we do.
And even here among our Hispanic girls, we see them holding hands. That's pretty normal. You do that too. Yeah, was it a question? What was it? Oh. The perception is sometimes that Chinese people are very quiet. Have you found that to be the truth? Is it a quiet society? How's that?
Um, I would say that the in general in the classroom, there is not the culture of kind of like this Socratic interaction where you share some knowledge, they share some knowledge, and you kind of go back and forth and engage with information like that. That is not a common classroom environment. In the classroom, the teachers talks, the students listen. So there's not a lot of engaging like that. So in that way, it seems like, yes, students are more reserved and quiet because that's the classroom environment that they are used to. But if you're out and about, there's plenty of laughter and loud talking. There's actually a term for the environment that Chinese people tend to enjoy, which is ruanao, which is kind of a lively, active environment. So if you go into supermarkets, there's like music, there's announcements on repeat, there's a lot of talking. It's not quiet in that way at all.
What else? We have time for 1 or 2 more questions and we have to let her go to bed. Great, huh? Sounds, look, you're looking at like, what? She's actually stayed up late for us. You want to go to bed? I'm sorry, guys. Okay, any other questions? 1 or 2? We got it. Jeremiah, you have to bed? He's back there eating. Fine. I'll ask another question. Because this was so, huh?
I think I got.
You got one? You just forgot. Yeah. Okay, let me ask a question then while y'all have to think of your final question. Because this really surprised me. All right, you guys know what line dancing is?
Oh,
Okay, so you know line dance. Okay, where everybody, it's where you dance the line. What surprised me is I took line dancing classes once at a recreation center. And it was all Chinese people and me. And so Chinese people, Chinese people like line dancing, yes? I mean, I thought
Yes.
that's, you had China, and you were like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So have you-
Yes. Well, so wherever there's like an open square or even just in front of in a parking lot, I guess you kind of have to picture Chinese people are they're a collective culture. They enjoy being together. So there are always people outside walking, grandparents out with their grandkids, older people walking, sitting outside and chatting. So there are people around all the time throughout the day. You're never really alone. And so at night or in the morning, older people will gather in just places where there's open place to dance, and they'll take out their speaker, turn it up, and do different kinds of line dancing. It's a form of exercise, a way of being together. So yeah, that's a very common thing. It's happening all the time,
Do you join
probably
in?
right now.
You join in?
I have joined in the past, but now I don't regularly do line dancing, but I have before. Yeah, it's fun.
Right. One last question, Juan, did you think of
Are
it?
there more universities or less than the US?
That I don't know exactly. I would imagine that there are more just because there are more people. But I don't have any statistics on that.
That's a pretty, it has a lot more people than we do. In a
Mhm.
lot of aspects, yes?
Yes.
Okay, guys, Any other, this is your last chance. We're getting ready to sign off. Everybody good?
Leah has a question, I think.
Oh, I
What?
see a hand.
Jeremiah has a
Yeah.
question. Pull up, Jeremiah.
Sure.
Are your apartments small yet?
Are your apartments small?
Some apartments are small, but not all of them. Some of them are quite spacious.
Makes sense? All right, anything else? All right, let's say goodbye to Miss Erica. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye. Have a good day.
So
Good
much,
to
Erica. I
see you.
appreciate it.
Sure, absolutely. Anytime.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.